this beef that we're seeing online between America and South Africa. I don't know if you've seen any of
No, I
that
haven't really.
online.
Take me there. I want to know a little bit
Yeah.
about it.
Okay. So let's unpack that a little bit. So I think a lot of it is centered around this Tyla situation with
Okay.
this terminology of being colored versus, and the word being acceptable in South Africa but not being acceptable in the States.
Okay.
And it's really sparked this whole conversation around like, what does it actually mean to be African? Like, is someone who is born in America that identifies African American, like, are they African or are they American? And now, like, obviously, because of the past that we come from, it's a weird conversation to have because it's like, because of the things that were not in majority of our control back then, the way things turned out, it's created this weird identity crisis situation that we're trying to work out. And when you look at how we plug that problem or that past into the current day technology that we have, where you can have someone in America having a conversation with someone in South Africa about what the word colored means, it's opened up this debate that's currently going on.
It's a good one too. I think it's a good it's a good thing to talk about, honestly. So because most people that have the conversation don't have enough information and knowledge about what the conversation should be about. I would say number one, we have to go all the way back. When you name somebody, you have the power. So let's just start with that. Let's start at the source. Where is the source of how this even happened? Not even the color thing, just what the naming thing in political. So policy tends to name things and put categories on things because now it becomes the power source of that particular name.
You kind of determining someone else's identity for them in a way.
Exactly, by giving them a name.
Yes.
And how do I know that? I know that because it already happened to us. When somebody name you and you become what they call lost, like you don't even know what your name really is, then so they're just doing the same thing. It's like a loop. Let's continue. When we say reality, it's just we saying I want to go back into the loop that I know because it's your what is the ality? So you understand what I mean by that? Re has nothing to do with ality. The makes it backward loop. Continue to do the same thing over and over again. So when you're talking about a naming source, when somebody names you, then they own you. It's simple. The power comes to them. So like us sitting here talking about the name color gives the power back to the person that started the political thing called color. The name, not the culture. Because I've learned that it's a culture. So color here is a culture. They want to make it a name. And then now you got the argument.
So would you say that's the reason why a lot of American people have a problem with the word colored, is because it's basically a name in its context?
Yeah, it's not a culture. Exactly, and that's what a confusion is.
Yes.
And so if you say white and black never existed until America started. Did you know that? There was no political, there was Portuguese, there was Spanish, there was Britain, there was all these different kinds of people from Europe that came to America. And then how did they turn into white? That's a political category because because now the person owns that who came up with it. Now we're gonna make everybody black and white, and that's it. And then to even take it even further, black is the absorption of all colors. White is the reflection of it. So that's not even a color spectrum. When have you seen white and black in the rainbow? It don't exist. So you see, they create false things that don't exist and fit you in it, and then now it becomes what they want it to be. Now they can control it. Back to who's the source that made that name,
and who is they?
We know who they is. They is people that's the least that understand systematics. First of all, so let's talk about source again. If I say GM car, who made a Cadillac? GM made it. So GM is the designer of Cadillac. So if I want to talk to anybody about a Cadillac, I'm not going to talk to the Mercedes people. I'm going to talk to the people that made it at GM, General Motors, which is in Detroit. So that's what I'm saying when I'm talking about these things like source. You have to trace it back to the source. I can't give you a name who they is, but I know there's a they or I or
someone benefits from us not agreeing with each other. So I think that could be a good way to kind of see, but also we don't want to open up like the whole conspiracy theory thing, I think the thing that's important is finding that eye to eye understanding. And I think for a lot of South Africans, they will say that they feel as though, and let me not say they, because I'm a South African, so let me own it, right? We would say online that like there's sort of a perspective as though we feel as though there's two definitions that exist of this word. The one is the naming and the one is the culture definition. So now a lot of people, there's kind of this power struggle online to see who owns the word and what does it mean, which, coming back to what you said, I think is a good thing, because let's have these conversations and let's come to a common ground. But what I think happens a lot of the time is a lot of people don't have the objective of finding that common ground. The objective is kind of to say, well, this is how I know the word, so this is how it is. Yes. And then it's that constant like back and forth.
Everybody wants the symptoms and not the source. Like the source will give you the raw material. It's like the raw material, the name. Where did this come from? Like, no, why isn't, you should ask the question, where did this come from?
The word colored.
Yeah, where did it come from? Where and then start from there. And nobody's saying it. They're just saying, they're just in the category saying like, and fighting about a name and culture at the same time, And then another thing I would say, just people even having the time to even have that conversation. I was in Cape Town, and man, I would consider, okay, I'm black. I can go black. I'm colored too. I'm all of that. So because if you put it into that,
someone will come at you for saying that, eh?
Well, hey, but they don't know my heritage.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So if you
what does colored mean to you might be different.
For me, colored in America means that, hey, you know what I'm saying, there's a mixture. And we all know most people that came from the journey in the Atlantic slave trade have some mixtures in it, even if it's with the tribes. So tribal mixtures is another mixture, which takes you into color. So like, but the name color, it's like this ownership, like color. I gotta be color. You know what I'm saying? And so I got a lot of friends, so hey man, they might see this and they're gonna know exactly what I'm saying. Like, but I do understand the culture of it. You know what I'm saying? The culture is like, it's a whole nother thing. It has nothing to do with and so if it's colored, then okay, let's pull out the traditional people that they say that's colored in South Africa. Take them out of South Africa, put them back in their homeland. What would they be?
That's a very good question.
You see what I'm saying? What would they be in another land? So you go back to, you got Indian, you got European, you got Native African people here, you got Dutch, you got all these different people. So when you extract it and you put them back in their homeland, then what? Are they colored there?
But where is the homeland?
That's the point.
That's the question that I like, because it's so complex. The whole conversation is very complex.
Before it was mixed, before it became that culture. So that's what I'm referring to. I'm not referring to right now. I'm referring to like before it became what we call the name. What you guys call the name that, because we call it this derogatory term for us, because they gave it to us, and it was just like, we don't know who you guys is, so here you go. Here's another name. So we've been named so many names, So I decided what I want to be. Let me decide what I want to be. Let me just put a name on me, an origin.
Yeah. And I think that's where the whole thing of like taking power back comes from, right? It's being able to take back that name and own it for what you want it to be, which is kind of what we've seen in other cultural, terminologies that we get out there. But
so all my South African colored people that I know and great friends with, hey, I think you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, look, I think the whole purpose of this should be to understand what each others are saying, because ultimately at the end of the day, I think what happens a lot of the time is we kind of divide ourselves based off of the misunderstandings that we have, or I might believe the word to mean one thing and someone might believe the word to mean another thing. But I think the conversation should really be centered around, coming back to our goal and objective, to connect Africa to the digital economy and the world to Africa.
Exactly.
The goal is to uplift Africa as a continent. And I think that there's a very, there's a shared objective between a lot of people in the States, in the UK, that have African heritage, that have that shared vision of uplifting the continent. Just like there's a lot of people in South Africa or other African countries that also want to see the continent uplifted. And I think that's ultimately, to me, is what I think should be the important conversation of how do we work with each other to make that shared goal become a reality?
Yeah,